It's been close to 6 months since I made a video going over every feature confirmed to be coming to Terraria in its next update, which includes things like a Dead Cells crossover, the ability to combine secret seeds, and more. But since then, we have learned about a ton of new features. And since we're entering the last half of the year Relogic said would be the best one yet for Terraria, I thought it was the perfect time to not only go over the newly announced features, but also cover everything else that's already been announced, so that way this can be an all-in-one video. If you don't already know, secret seeds are special worlds that you can make by entering specific phrases into the seed option when making your world. Right now, there are technically 7 different secret seeds, alongside one more, which is a combination of every secret seed into one world. But with this new update, we will be able to make any combination of the secret seeds that we want, allowing us to have over 128 different possible seed combinations, including some combinations that will make entirely new secret seeds, like the vampire one, where you can't go out in the sun, the skyblock one, and this shimmer ocean one, which the creator of Terraria already released as a custom map you can download and play now, but I'll talk about that later on in this video. And now that we got arguably the biggest feature in this update covered, let's go over the first time we got to hear about this update, which was also the first time that we found out it will include a Dead Cells collab. Since then, we have gotten a lot of information about what Terraria is getting in this collab, starting with this mushroom boy that we'll be getting as a summoner minion. But we will seemingly be getting more Dead Cells weapons, as Red has already confirmed that he wants a Dead Cells item for each class, with the only other ones we know about at the time being the Killing Card deck and the Barnacle Sentry. After that, we have this picture, which shows off a few things, with the first one being the jars that can hold items. But there's also a new weapon from Dead Cells, called the Flint, that the player is swinging, new jugs of liquids that work as item frames, a thing of purple liquid, and finally a vanity set based on the protagonist of Dead Cells, the Beheaded. Now, let's go over the new items we know are coming in 1.4.5, starting with the whips. This update will seemingly be, at minimum, doubling the amount of whips in the game, with ones like the Stardust Whip, a Meteor one, a possible Moonlord Whip, a Duke Fishron one, an unnamed white one, 2 Evil Biome Whips, and a Plantera Whip, which was just recently announced in July. Whips won't be the only new weapons we're getting though, as we will also be getting throwable mud blocks, and a new accessory called the Magic Yo-Yo Bag, which allows your yo-yos to break off their thread when thrown. There will also be a weapon that will double as a useful tool, which is this boomerang that can cut down trees, which goes along with the new Senex pet that will do the same thing. Another great tool will be the new bombs, which can do things like make an ice platform when thrown in water, and only blow up hard mode ore instead of everything around it, which will be amazing for mining. And speaking of mining, we will be getting a number of new mounts and transformations in this update, starting with the Rat, which will let you crawl through 1-block gaps and walls. The Bat one is another super useful one, as not only will it make you smaller, but you will also fly. Another new mount that you'll be able to fly with is the new Dinosaur mount, which when on the ground will make you a T-Rex mowing grass. And then, when you try and fly, you will turn into a pterodactyl. Another movement-related item will be the rollerblades, which will not only make placing platforms a lot easier, but you will actually be able to skate with them as well. To close out the movement part of this section, what better item to talk about than the one that will automate attacks for you when you aren't moving, which will be amazing for farms. Another item that'll make things easier is the Shimmer Gun, which, like the name implies, will shoot out shimmer so you can change your NPC's forms, without having to pour shimmer everywhere in your base. Speaking of your base, this update adds in a few new furniture sets and items, which are the Star Furniture set, which will hopefully be crafted with fallen stars, so I have a use for the ones I randomly collect in the endgame, an Ethereum set, and a number of new paintings from community members. We will also be getting another r/place painting, which will, of course, feature the Terraria art that was made in last year's r/place event. And for the final group of items, we of course have the vanity and armor sets. Starting off with the smaller one-off items, we have this frog band that goes in a social slot, this Tamagotchi pet necklace, a white beard, a heartband accessory, and finally this item that looks a bit like the silly balloons. Next, we have one that I'm probably in the minority of being excited for, which is a hard mode fishing set. Another neat vanity item we'll be getting is the Moonlord shirt, which will finally allow us to wear a full Moonlord costume in the game. The last two vanity sets are dedicated to real people, starting with Chicken Bone's dev set. If you don't already know, most of the team behind Terraria have their own vanity sets in the game, and now Chicken Bones will finally have his after being hired back in 2022. And for the final vanity set, we have Frank's. Frank is a 17-year-old battling a serious illness right now, but he is also a huge Terraria fan. So, with the help of Make-A-Wish, Relogic got in contact with him, and not only added in a vanity set based off his own design and a special filter, but also went the extra mile and sent him a merch package as well. Now that we got those items finished, let's go over the new mobs we will be getting, starting off with the pufferfish. Just like it sounds, pufferfish will now be added to the oceans in the game. But on top of that, we will also be getting a new pufferfish pet that will change forms, depending on if it's in water or not. The next new mob isn't technically new, as it was in the game for a while, which is the orca. It was removed alongside the other console-exclusive features, but now it's coming back in the 1.4.5 update, which will fit right alongside another new feature, which lets you see fish in the water while you're fishing. The final three new enemies are both slimes, with the first being this cloud slime that can jump extremely high, this moonglow slime, which will plant a moonglow every time it lands on a mud block, and a dart trap slime, which will be able to shoot out arrows. For the next section, let's go over some of the new major features, starting with Spectator Mode. Right now in Terraria, if you die in a multiplayer world, it will act exactly like it does in single player, where it freezes your camera and makes you wait for a countdown timer to finish. But with Spectator Mode, that won't be the case anymore. Instead, you will be able to switch between the different players in your world, until you eventually end up spawning back in. Another neat feature being added is the banner menu. And just like it sounds, this will be a menu dedicated to being a place where you craft any banner that you unlocked, stopping them from clogging up your inventory. The next feature is something that I feel like people are really gonna enjoy, or at least I will, which is the ability to place evil biome altars wherever you want, which will make crafting items that require the altars a lot easier. Speaking of making things easier, we recently got this video, which not only shows items automatically going into chests, but specific items seem to be going in specific chests, which will completely change farming in Terraria, while also making things way easier. There's a really good chance that these hoppers will either be an item we put on the chest, or a wire-related item, but we don't know for sure at the moment. We also got to see the hoppers again in a recent video, which also showed off that conveyor belts will be able to go up the Y-axis. And to end off this section, let's talk about boulders. Boulders have also been a big topic in this update, with Red letting us know that there will be a boulder rain event. A rainbow boulder that can bounce really fast while also going through blocks, and the boulder that I'm not allowed to name. And for the last bit of news about 1.4.5 in this video, let's go over all of the changes coming in this update, starting with all of the redesigns. In this update, a ton of the game's sprites have gotten an upgrade, like the banners, boss trophies, bosses like Moonlord, the sun, the slime staff minion, and a few other things as well. That isn't the only thing getting an upgrade though, as King Slime, Eater of Worlds, the Twins, Skeletron, Skeletron Prime, and Torch God will all be getting new soundtracks, which will go great with the new chat command to show how much damage everyone dealt to a boss. The character creation screen will also be getting an upgrade, which is also where we will be able to choose our player's tone for when you get hurt. Builders will really like to hear that the Rubble Maker is getting a very neat upgrade, with this update now allowing it to place more things, like presents and other odd blocks, that will work well as decorations. That isn't the only building related change though, as we will also be able to place kites and have them fly on their own, alongside the bubble block getting a nice upgrade. The enemies will also be able to enjoy our building in this update, as slimes will now be able to change colors when they jump onto a painted block. A few weapons have also been reworked, like the phase blades, with you now being able to throw them like a ranged weapon. The zombie arm also got reworked, which now has zombie parts fly out of the sword when it's swung. And the last weapon to get a change is the classy cane, which will now look like this. The mobs will also be getting some slight tweaks, with slimes being able to pick up items, and critters being able to attack you if your luck gets too low. And finally, the last change we will be getting has to do with the Jungle Temple, with it getting a grassy revamp. And while that covers the 1.4.5 news, there's still some other big Terraria news that's also happened recently that I feel is worth mentioning, starting with the 1.4.5 special secret seed that you can play right now. Back at the end of 2022, Red decided to release a custom map through Chippy using this feature for the Jingle Jam charity event. The map was a mix of For the Worthy, a modified version of the No Trap seed, the Celebration seed, and finally, the Drunk seed. But it also has a special feature of half of the world's liquids being Shimmer, including one of the oceans. Chippy ended up putting this map up on his Steam Workshop for a bit, but he eventually privated his entire Steam for personal reasons. Because of this, I re-uploaded an untouched version of it myself to my workshop. And I also have the world file in my Discord server, so that way mobile users can also play it as well, which you can find linked in the description. Aside from that, Relogic also released 2 new versions of Terraria. Kind of. This was originally called the Undeluxe version of Terraria, which was actually just an old version of Terraria re-released onto Steam as a beta option. But only a month later, they did the same thing with the 1.1 version of Terraria to celebrate the anniversary, with them calling it the first final update, which is referencing the fact this was the first update Relogic said was gonna be the final update. And finally, Terraria has outsold Super Mario Bros., becoming the 8th most sold game in history, with over 58 million copies sold. And that wraps up this video. If you want to stay up to date on Terraria news, or get easy help with Terraria stuff without having to open up the wiki, then you can join my Discord server at discord.gg/TerrariaSlime, which has its own custom Terraria wiki bot, alongside another bot that automatically posts any news relating to Terraria that comes out. Thanks for sticking to the end. Be sure to like and subscribe for more videos like this in the future. And as always, make sure to have a wonderful day.